This is Dave T1963, and continuing with my setups, I think what I'm going to do is the first system I'm going to cover is my ground hunting system. I find myself more and more going to areas that just don't have trees, and I have been working, I've been hunting from the ground for many years, and I've really been tweaking systems and doing DIY stuff to come up, you know, to every year to make it more flexible, more lightweight, and allow me to quickly get in areas, reposition as I need it, and I just have a system that works for me. I swear by this system. I've been using the Waldrop's pack seat for over a decade. They seem to be getting more and more popular now. When I first started using them, I never heard anyone talking about them except for some turkey hunters. But this system, this pack seat, is just a phenomenal hunting system. Now what I do with mine, let me just start from the basics. I've got a video below that really covers this thing, but you know, this is a chair. It's a backpack that has legs on it to where this can set up independent of any trees, okay? I put tennis balls on these front legs to keep it from sinking any mud or whatever. And that you can also just lean this against a tree, or if there's no trees, you can kick this out and it'll sit perfectly flat on the ground. I have hunted out of this thing in 3 or 4 inches of water in a lake, setting some cattails, and shot a doe that came by at 7 yards. So I have not found a place that I can go where I can't use this Waldrop's. Now some of the gear that I carry with this is I always carry pruners with me, so that and some PVC pipes, and I've got videos below that show this stuff, so that I can take those PVC pipes and stick them in front of me, and then I can trim some branches or cattails or whatever, and I can either stuff them down in the pipes or I can zip tie them to the pipes, and I can create makeshift cover in front of me. I typically like to have a bush or a tree or something, or a deadfall or something behind me. So this allows me to pretty much set up on the fly anywhere I want to go. What I love about that is how many times when you're out there hunting, especially on the ground, do you get changing winds, especially with the thermals. This system, I can, no kidding, I can set up, and if the wind shifts, I can quickly pack up and move to a better wind advantage within minutes, all right, and still continue with the hunt. Especially if I'm hunting a destination spot or a trail or a conjunction of trail, a scrape or whatever. You know, I can get to where I can have the wind work to my advantage pretty quickly. In fact, I did that last year. There's a video in my videos below where I was hunting in one spot. I set up about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, wasn't seeing a whole lot, and the winds were really squirrely. Had a couple does come in, they got finicky, so I picked up and moved about 300 yards and set up on another area that was more wind advantage towards me. And there's a video of it. I had a nice buck right at nightfall come in and trying to screw around with getting the camera set up and get on him and stuff, because I was just about ready to pack up and leave. I shot a little bit high and a little bit back, and anyway, he ducked the aerial and it bounced off his back at 15 yards. So this system is extremely flexible. You can literally set up in minutes, and you can find everything you need at location, okay? Now what I carry in this is, obviously I carry a kill kit and game bags and plastic bags to handle deer, but I always carry binoculars. I 100% of the time carry pruners with me, so I can set up blinds as I need it, move brush or whatever. I can cut shooting lanes if I need to. I always carry a bag of zip ties, so I can zip tie larger branches to my PVC pipe, or sometimes I'll zip tie a horizontal branch or a diagonal branch in front of me, and then I can hang things from it and stuff, so I can create a makeshift blind relatively quickly with zip ties and paracord. I always have that in my pack. But the gear I specifically use for this is I make what's called a bow blind. Now I posted a video that I made like 7 or 8 years ago where I first started using this thing. This snaps into my quiver, and you can go look at the video, but the whole idea behind this is, one, with those zip ties I can attach natural vegetation to this to help blend in, but this goes right in front of my draw arm in my bow quiver, so I'm moving my arm back and forth right now, but you can't see that movement because it's behind this bow quiver. it's just like this. I can sit there, and right behind this, it hides that movement. And like I said, for a traditional archer, when you have a deer within 15 to 20 yards of you on ground level, that movement is important. It's not like a compound where I can wait for him to get behind a brush or a tree, draw back, and then wait for him to step out. I have to draw where his vitals are clearly already visible and in a shooting lane. So this is an important piece to my ground hunting equipment. Now, last year I almost exclusively used this First Light cipher pattern leafy suit as my Ghillie suit. I did a lot of black and white photograph studies on this stuff, and this blended in more environments than anything else I found. I never got picked off last year hunting from the ground using this cipher suit. Now, I only wear the jacket. I don't wear it on my pants, and I don't put my jacket on until I get in the blind. But I wear tan pants because a lot of the places I hunt, it's grass. And usually, you know, October, it's green, but brown blends in everywhere. So I use brown tan pants, just regular Wrangler work pants. And I'll use this cipher leafy jacket. And then, if you've watched my videos for any length, you know that I make these with a boonie hat. I make these what I call Ghillie capes. And I'll just throw this on top of my hat. The whole idea of this is not to camouflage everything, but to break up that shoulder head outline. And this right here, if I had to only take one piece of camouflage into the woods, hunting from the ground or a tree stand or whatever, if I could only take one piece of hunting clothing, I would take this Ghillie cape over everything else, because this, I've hunted out of Ghillie suits with regular hats and stuff for decades, and I got picked and stuff. But between this cipher leafy wear, and really, to me, this is the key piece, this Ghillie cape, I'm just not getting busted anymore, okay? And what I like about a Ghillie system is, once again, the day of the hunt, let's say you're hunting early season, you can cut some maple leaves or whatever and intertwine it in all this synthetic yarn and stuff and totally blend in any environment. If the leaves are turning and let's say you're hunting an aspen grove and there's some low aspens or whatever, or willows, whatever, and they're turning and stuff, you can pick those exact colors, leaves and whatever, and mix that in, and you blend in any environment. So this is a very, very important part of my system for hunting from the ground. Between this, that bow blind, and the cipher jacket, hunting from the ground, I don't get pegged. Now, I've had deer catch movement and look at me, but they don't figure out what I am, and they usually either do the head bob for a while and then go back to feeding or whatever, or they just amble off or whatever. They don't pick me out like they used to do when I wore camouflage or whatever. And I know there's a big debate right now that you don't need camouflage. You can wear, I always hear I've shot deer in my blue jeans and my white t-shirt. Yeah. And everyone can pull off the unbelievable every once in a while. But if you consistently want to hunt deer from the ground and with traditional archery like I do, and get them within 15 yards and slip an arrow through their vitals, I highly recommend looking into camouflage and Ghillie systems. Okay, so this is the system that I'll use. Another product that I have used a lot, I don't even remember who made this, but I use synthetic yarn Ghillie suits. This is just a jacket. I never wear the pants, and I never put these on until I'm ready to hunt. But I do have this. I like this one here because it's more of a woodland camo, and I've added to it obviously and stuff, and made this to where it'll work in more early season. But that's really my key components to my ground hunting system. Maybe later on I'll do some additional videos of set some of the setups and stuff, and I'll try to remember to do that this year when I'm hunting, to have a camera looking back at me so you can see the setup and stuff. But it's not rocket science, okay? There's some fundamentals when you're hunting from the ground. One, wind is important. You have to use the wind to your advantage, and that means keeping in mind thermals. It means keeping in mind openings and the swirling effects they might have, keeping in mind ditches and travel corridors where scent will kind of pull into, and using that to your advantage. But wind is important. Two, movement. You can't get away with as much movement on the ground as what you do up in a tree stand when you're above deer's line of sight, especially in early season when you got a lot of foliage and cover. So usually I'm in thick areas and the deer are within 15 to 20 yards. Most of the time when I first see a deer, at the very furthest, it might be 40, 50 yards in the areas that I'm hunting. So it's quick, and it happens quick. You don't have a lot of time for movement and stuff like that. So getting set up to shoot to your strong side with as minimal movement as possible is important. You have to think about these things when you set up. Another rule that I always use is back cover is more important than what's in front of you. So I'm always looking for a bush, a log jam, or I'm creating something behind me for the Ghillie suit and stuff to blend into, okay? In front of me, I usually have high grass that's usually 3 to 5 foot tall, so using those pruners and cutting a shooting lane is very important. I typically do that the day that I'm hunting. I cut that shooting lane into that exact spot or the trail that I'm watching and stuff. So, and like I said, I have PVC pipes that I camouflage and stuff. They're about 1.5 feet long. I think they're 1 inch to 1.5 inch in diameter, and I grind a sharp point on them, and I push those in the ground to where I can put little tree limbs or brush or tall clumps of grasses and create some cover in front of me. But I'm telling you, the back cover, between the back cover and using that cipher pattern, using the Waldrops to sit perfectly still and having my bow ready, and then that Ghillie cape and that bow blind, I just don't get pegged a lot on the ground anymore. Like I said, when I get pegged, it's usually because of the wind betraying me and not because of movement or them identifying me as a human being. And trust me, I have had deer come up 5 feet from me, 6 feet from me, and they know I'm not supposed to be there. That clump wasn't there yesterday. What the heck is it? And they might do that old head bob thing, and you know, a couple times I'll have them stomp their feet. But if you will sit still in this Ghillie suit, and as long as you've got good camouflage makeup on your face, breaking up this, I think deer focus on eyes, and I think they're used to seeing predator eyes looking forward. I just think there's something about the shape of our face, the way the sun reflects off of it. So camouflaging your face, in my opinion, is important. Okay, I know some people don't think you have to wear camouflage. I found my success rate has went up when I use face camouflage. I use paint most of the time over my face and stuff because I anchor and I want to have a good solid anchor on the corner of my mouth. But my success rates went up with these Ghillie suits and stuff. But to me, all these pieces are important. And I'm not saying you have to go run out and buy everything. You know, you can pick up some of these old military Ghillie suits sometimes at military surplus stores. But really, you don't even have to have this. You could wear regular camouflage, woodland camouflage, tree bark, I don't care what kind of camouflage. You can wear any kind of that regular camouflage if you will just spend the time, get you a boonie hat, get you some fish netting material, and use synthetic yarn. I do not like to use burlap. Burlap will mildew and it does pick up odor. Okay, I prefer the synthetic yarn. And what I typically do is these things, I've got 3 or 4 of these that I made up, so I'll wear 1, 2, or 3 hunts, and you know, down here when it's 90 degrees, you're going to sweat. Then I'll take these and I will stick them in a big tub of water with some of that Arm & Hammer scent-free, dye-free detergent, and I'll wash this really good, and then I'll hang it to dry. And it just don't decay like burlap does. Burlap is a natural material and it decays. This is lighter. You don't have to put near as much on there as what I've got on this one. You just want enough to break up your outline, okay? And what I love about these is you can get different color yarn, and you can make one that's more woodland colored to set up for an early season. You can use more of this. Like I said, I hunt a lot of Johnson grass and tall grasses and stuff. So to me, I made this one specifically for those areas where I know I'm going in and hunting a lot of brush and grass. But between this and this Cypher suit, man, I'll tell you, maybe I need to go out and take some still photographs in black and white and in color to show you how well this Cypher pattern blends in. Now, some people ask, why don't I use the Cypher face mask that you can get for this? And you can. When I hunt out of a tree, I do. But when I'm hunting from the ground, nothing breaks up that human outline like these capes. I mean, you can put this over your shoulder however you want. Like I said, you can attach natural material and just stuff it down in here, and it holds. To me, man, this is my #1 tool that I use from the ground. And then, like I said, you know, I suppose you can make one for your compounds and stuff too. But if you're a traditional bow hunter, man, think about adding one of these. What I love about this is this goes right in my quiver and it folds flat when I'm carrying my bow, or I can take this and stick it in my pack, which is what I typically do. My pack on my Waldrops is big enough for me to stick that right into. But man, this right here covers up that whole drawing the bow arm movement, which is so important. Man, I guess the closest that I've shot a deer, like I said, I shot that doe at 7 yards. That's probably about as close as I've gotten. But I've shot a number of deer in between 15 to 20 yards. I would say probably between 12 to 20 yards is where I kill probably 95% of the deer when hunting from the ground. But like I said, I shot that doe at 7 yards on the ground. She was wide in the open. I was sitting with just some willows and stuff to my background, totally visible. I had a little bit of brush piled in front of me, and you know, between this and my Ghillie cape and stuff like that, she never had a clue that I was there. She never even saw the movement of me drawing my bow at 7 yards. So take it for what it's worth. Anyway, that's the system that I've put together for hunting on the ground. Now, why I like this system is, one, I can hunt anywhere. I don't need a tree. I don't need anything to lean this Waldrops up against. I can stand it up anywhere I want to hunt. If I'm on slope ground, there's a strap here in the bottom to where you can adjust this to accommodate still sitting level on slope ground and stuff. Literally, this chair will hunt anywhere. I love it because I can carry a lot of gear on it if I'm going all day, food, water, stuff like that. And I absolutely love it because when I get a deer down, if I'm way back in there, I can quarter that deer out and carry 2 quarters on this pack and then come in for one trip with my regular backpack. Or if I'm in an area that allows me to bone out the deer, I can bone out the animal, put it in my game bags, throw it inside the pack, and carry all my hunting gear out in one trip. And when you're hunting back in 2 or 3 miles, and it's late in the evening or whatever, that's an advantage to me. So I absolutely love this system. The downfalls are, once again, you're sitting on the ground, so you don't have visibility as well as you do in a tree stand. So a lot of times the deer are right up in your face before you have them. A lot of times in real thick areas, you have to be able to judge a buck quickly when they're passing through. Now, typically what I do is when I set up, let's say I'm in real tall brush and grass, I will spend the time to cut 2 shooting lanes, and I set them out on a 45 in front of me, still with the wind working to my advantage, to where if a deer is coming down the trail this way or this way, they'll hit that first shooting lane. Then there's some kind of blockage, so I can move my bow and get ready, and then draw and shoot as he walks through the second one. Or if he's coming this way, same thing. I see him coming through the first one, he passes through. Now I got the blockage of the grass or brush or whatever, and I can draw and get ready and shoot him as he gets to that second shooting lane. A lot of times it's not 360 shooting, sorry folks. You know, when you're hunting from the ground, you have to be more precise in setting up with minimal movement. So that can be a disadvantage, you know, to a lot of people that like to see deer coming and set up and stuff. But really, between that, the wind and the movement factor being on the ground, I don't think it has many disadvantages. The plus about this is I can hunt anywhere. I can move locations very quickly. I can hide my silhouette, I believe, better on the ground than I can up in a tree. Not always, not 100%, but typically most of the time I can break up my outline far better on the ground. I just get pegged less on the ground than like when I was sitting in front of a tree. Okay, I just don't get pegged much from the ground unless the wind betrays me. Another advantage is it's lightweight, it's mobile. I think this Waldrop weighs, with the pack, now not fully loaded, but just the Waldrops in the pack, I think it's about 6 pounds. It wears just like a backpack, so it's not a burden to carry. I can carry a lot of gear as another advantage of it. It's comfortable. This is like sitting in a recliner. Now, I'm one of those people, I'm going to be brutally honest. If you sit in the same position for hours, you're going to get sore spots and tire spots, and you're going to have to move around and stuff. But I can sit quietly and make a lot less movement sitting in this Waldrops than I can typically from a tree stand. And you know, my saddle, if I'm wearing the back band and stuff like that, yeah, I still think I move less when I'm sitting in this Waldrops on the ground. Maybe that's because I'm just more aware and I'm usually focused on a specific area right in front of me, not worrying about 360 around me. If a deer comes in behind me on the ground, that deer's going to walk if it don't bust my scent. I'm just not going to try to reposition and try to shoot behind me most of the time hunting from the ground. Now, if I'm in an area where I can see him 100 yards off, 60 yards off, that's a different story. But like I said, I'm hunting a lot of plum and blackberries and Johnson grass, real thick stuff, to where you have to have a shooting lane to even get an arrow to the animal. So I just kind of surrender what's behind me and off to the sides and stuff and say, you know what, the deer beat me this go round, I'm not going to get the shot, and focus 100% of my attention on that. And like I said, the more you do this, the more precise you'll get with your setups. We're always going to get surprised by that deer that does something out of the ordinary and stuff, but typically, at least well over 50% of the time, of the bucks that I've shot in the last 7, 8, 10 years, they're entering the shooting areas that I kind of knew this is where I'm going to get my shot opportunity. It may not be exact or whatever, it might be slightly off a little bit. Most of the time they're doing, you know, they're going to an oak tree that I'm hunting, or they're going to a scrape, or they're walking the trail that I figured they would walk. I'm not getting surprised a whole lot of the time by deer doing something totally unexpected, except during the rut when a buck's chasing a doe, and then, you know, they can do anything. So anyway, that's my ground hunting setup. If you got any comments or questions, leave them below. Like I said, I'll try in early season to make some videos of some setups. Maybe I can even get out before season in some areas I don't plan on hunting and just walk in and demonstrate setting up an impromptu blind and, you know, how I would go about approaching it. Another advantage that I will say about this is for the mobile hunter that wants to go in blind and scout their way in, find fresh sign and hunt. I don't think you can beat a ground system like the Waldrops. And the reason why I say that is you can't always find the perfect tree within bow range. For me, that's within 25 yards is a max for me. Usually I like them under 20. You can't always find a tree that's within that distance that plays the wind perfectly and has the animals moving in a way that's at, you know, to your advantage. With this Waldrops, I can set up anywhere. I can literally make a blind anywhere I want to. So it's a matter of finding the hot sign, and then I say, the wind's blowing this way, I expect the deer traveling like this, I'm setting up here with the wind coming like that. And I can make it happen every single time with this Waldrops. Where in the past, with the tree stand, sometimes I couldn't make that, and I would have to scout a little further and hope to find a place where it's narrowing down the movement a little bit more, and there was a tree that I could hunt from, you know, closer by. So that's a great advantage of this Waldrop. So you can hunt anywhere. I could set up literally in the middle of a Walmart parking lot if the deer were walking across it, and set this up within bow range. Might look like a blob out there, but you could set up. So anyway, like I said, leave comments and questions below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Dave T1963, I'm out of here.